Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming today to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting. Just a quick note for all of us that are, I think most of us are new to this room. To speak, just press the button on your intercom and wait until it turns red. So we're going to officially call this meeting to order. Today, are there any declarations of conflict of interest that need to be made by any members of the committee? I have more of a question. I think last time we talked about how the committee members would be briefed by a city staff member about like procedures and declaring conflict of interest and that kind of thing. When will that be set for?
Thank you for that question. I do know that our Director of Corporate Services is working on that to come up with an online onboarding session for the folks that are on these agencies, boards, and committees. There's no date set yet, but I do know that it is coming in the very near future.
Okay, thanks, Deputy Mayor. With that, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Everybody had a chance to review the agenda. Are there any additions anyone would like to make to the agenda? I'm going to add a little note under discussion about minutes from past meetings. I'd like to add that to the agenda. So minutes from 2019 to today, basically. And if we could have just a brief conversation about meeting documents as well. Being mindful of the paperless goal while also meeting people that don't have access to internet at home. Okay, seeing any additions to the agenda? Other additions? Okay, seeing none. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Thanks, Rebecca. Rebecca Condon. Motion, can I get a seconder? Thank you, Anne McCrae. Anna seconded it. Moving to adoption of the minutes. I'm going to suggest we just take a quick moment to review the minutes. I apologize because I did not have a chance to review them in full. Is there any errors or omissions that committee members would like to point out? Going once? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Thank you, Anne. And can I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Kevin. Okay, minutes are approved from our September 7th meeting. Business arising, any business arising from the minutes from our last meeting? I think any business arising is in the discussion section. Okay. Moving right along to discussions about the definition of affordable housing. So Jason sent out some information, thank you, Jason, about the definition of affordable housing. I had a question actually, because the first is about zoning and development bylaw there, the definition used there. And then the second was CMHC's. So I was just wondering which one the city is using currently. Is it the former?
We would be using the one that you'd find in the zoning and development bylaw. Is that correct, Your Worship? Yeah.
Correct, which is rent based on income.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said.
It's rent based on income or geared to income. That's what is in our municipal bylaw under the zoning development bylaw. So currently it's 30% of your income, family income.
So it would basically be the same as the CMHC?
No, CMHC is not part of our bylaw. We use the provincial definition, which is rent geared to income. And that's why we had an issue with some of the developers that submitted their applications for the tax forgiveness of, well, the first round was at 100% over 20 years. And we refused two applicants, but they were in the queue. And now they're asking the city of Charlottetown to review our position on that. So that's where we're at. But the bylaw, and Jason, do you have it where it talks about affordable housing?
So what we have with us today, we have Deegan, who's a planner one, who actually made those reports for us. So he's here to answer any questions you guys might have.
So right now, we just only have one definition from the city side, which is available on the zoning and development bylaw, which I mentioned over there. So since our current definition is not describing any numbers or something, so that's why I consider the CMHC's definition as well and put it there for the reference that 30% household income criteria.
But can you read that section of the bylaw on that definition or application of affordable housing in our bylaw? Do you have it there?
I don't have it right now, but if you want, I can just include that in the next meeting's agenda and just share it with you guys.
Yeah. I'll look for it. I have my zoning development bylaw here. Anyways, we'll clarify that. It's in our bylaw.
So there's a reference in the bylaw to the 30% of a household before tax income?
What's that again? Go again?
Just so I'm clear, are you saying that the city's bylaw incorporates that affordable means that an apartment costs less than 30% of households before tax income?
Well, you see, there's two. There's net income, which is 25, or gross is 30%. You can go do either one of them, but
So does the city's bylaw include that?
it follows the provincial definition of affordable housing. They don't use CMHC.
Okay, so are you saying that the city of Charlottetown follows a provincial definition of affordable housing?
That's what I'm going to try to find here in my zoning development bylaw.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could get that today.
Yeah,
Is that
no-
possible, like, to wait another month for that definition is a
No.
long time?
Just give me a minute, I'll take
Sure.
a look and let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Rebecca, did you have something you wanted to add? Yeah, because I guess for me, as I mentioned the last meeting, that first zoning and development bylaw is very limiting because you're only talking about people who are living in a subsidized housing situation. And that excludes a significant part of the population. Yeah, so to me, it's very important to have a very clear and transparent definition of what is being used. So I thought this was it, that first paragraph, but if there's another piece, that'd be great to have that. Any other thoughts from committee members on those two definitions right now? Or things that members think should be included that maybe are missing?
I'm just vaguely confused. So all of these definitions are in cases where there's public money going into either the building of or the renting out?
My understanding is it's just the first one,
Okay.
but I think there's some more information that the mayor and the deacon are looking for. Okay. Perhaps while they're doing that, we could do the update on new committee member information, Jason? Is that you? Update on new committee member? Or should I just invite Ahmed to
I'm not
introduce himself?
100% how this works, but I can tell you we have a new member that's been added, I guess, if we're going to go with logical process. He's right over here, and maybe he can introduce himself as we did the first meeting.
Sure. Ahmed, you're on the hot seat. Would you like to introduce yourself to your fellow committee members?
Thank you for having me. So my name is Ahmed. This is my first name and my last name, so it's Ahmed Partou. I have a bachelor degree in chemistry, so this is my basic study. And I work in the field of quality and either in food safety and quality or quality consultancy, like in some companies. Here in PI, I'm permanent resident, like for more than 1 year now. And I'm happy to be part of this committee. Also, I represent, I'm the vice president of the Muslim Society here in PEI. So that's why I'm willing to help more the whole community, not only the Muslim Society, but I'm willing to help or support all the city committees here in PEI because I enjoy living in Charlottetown and PEI, of course, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you and welcome to our committee. And as I said kind of at the beginning, we are all new also, so don't feel like, please share at your leisure. We are all kind of learning. I had a couple questions. Yeah, so I added to that agenda the minutes from 2019 to present. So thanks, Jason, for sending along the summaries of the various years from 2019 forward. I was just curious, were there minutes taken at those meetings? Or minutes available?
Actually, I see Deegan's mic on there. He could
No,
speak to
they are
that.
not minutes. I just review all the minutes and agendas, and on behalf of that, I mention over there like what they discuss, what are the topics they discuss, and like what are the upcoming topics they're gonna bring up in the next meeting.
Okay.
I made up on the basis of that, all the summary.
Okay. Would that be typical for a committee to have no minutes? It just seemed odd.
No, those minutes were presented to council. You didn't find any? There were minutes.
Yeah, there are minutes.
Yeah, there are
Yeah,
minutes.
there are minutes available.
Oh, so
Yeah.
could we have the minutes?
Can you get them?
Yeah,
We don't need those today, but it'd be just for a little bit of context,
Background.
especially because we're all new and there's no kind of, well, except maybe Deputy Mayor, like, were you part of some of those conversations then? Like, you can provide some, what's that word? Institutional memory?
I can provide, thank you, Chair, I can provide some, but just in terms of the best approach for this committee, for you to feel like you're doing something, your direct report is your planner right over here. That's the meat and the potatoes, that's the department. The mayor and I are here, but this is your committee, so any direction that you need will come from him.
Okay.
But any corporate memory that I have, happy to provide it. And I do recall as a member of Planning and Heritage last term, before I was chair, every month that the committee met, there were usually minutes in the monthly meeting of council for us to read. So
Right.
there are minutes somewhere. I'm not sure who was taking them. I don't know who the staff representative was at the time, but,
It was Ellen.
yeah, it was Ellen, okay, yeah.
Not me. a
Sorry,
different
if there are minutes, they will be there. And if we could just note that as a discussion, which I will in the minutes of today's, that'll be sort of business for the next one. And I will, between Deegan and I and the department, compile them and have them sent out as in the next package. So Deegan, I suppose maybe I should have said first, I guess earlier, Deegan is a planner one with Planning and Heritage, and he's been assigned to this committee for any of the technical things. I am admin support, basically. I push a few buttons here to do some things behind the scenes and stuff like that. And as I said, this may change again next meeting, but we'll note it in the minutes today that you'd like all the minutes from 2019 now.
Yeah. And Ellen, that was Ellen Katani. She was the former input take officer. And just for your information, definition in our zoning and development bylaw, it's on page I believe 152. Do you see that, Deacon? It says affordable housing means any type of housing whereby the provincial government provides some form of subsidy or rent assistance, including public, nonprofit, cooperative housing, or rent supplements for people living in private market housing. And their formula is 30%.
Okay, so that is the one that we have in our package today. So from my point of view, it's not really a fulsome definition because again, that's wonderful. We're looking at people who are getting subsidized housing or rent supplements, rental assistance. That's important, and that's one kind of affordable housing, but it's not the whole pie. So what I would like to see the city do is to have a more fulsome definition of what affordable means. And I know that's a real moving target when we are working with, unprecedented inflation and really low vacancy rates and that kind of thing. So I guess in terms of process, if this committee were to develop a revised definition, can we just put that forward to council? I know that has ramifications because you're talking about developers and all of that, but I do think it's pretty fundamental to have a more fulsome definition.
Chair, I could respond to that. What I would think probably the best process would be is you can put your recommendation forward to council, which then would go back to the Planning and Heritage Department, which then could be looked at in the updates and the changes to our official plan, which then prompts the changes to the zoning and development bylaw. So your timing is actually quite perfect because those are the two things that we are working on right now, which is the updated official plan and the changes to the zoning and development bylaw. So, Your Worship, is that not the best process?
Yep, agree.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, we can incorporate the new definition or maybe more broader way of definition in our new official plan. Yeah, like some cities considering the affordable housing is like whatever is needed for example, 4 people cannot stay inside a 1 BHK house or something like that. So they are considering that as well, affordable housing, like how much is needed for this family or how much is needed for like 8 people of family or something like that. So we can like think more Broadway and try to incorporate in our next official plan.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Madam Chair, I think we can amend that beforehand. If we do amend it beforehand, then it has to, I believe this would require public consultation?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it varies depend on the cities to cities characteristics. So I think it needed a public consultation.
So you'd have to make a recommendation to the planning board. The planning board will discuss it, then make a recommendation to council. And if the decision is to go ahead with a public consultation, then there's a whole process involved in the application of rezoning or amending the zoning and development bylaw. So.
Okay,
Something we may want to look at, but I think
Yeah.
that discussion has to take place at this committee, this advisory committee level, and then come to a conclusion how you want to recommend it to Deacon, and then he will forward it through the system.
yeah, so what I would suggest, and open to committee members' ideas, is just that not that we hash out like an amended definition today, because we have a really short period of time, but that that's a really great place, I think, to use Google, like a Google Doc, and we put forward some drafts and people can add comments and we can have a discussion in that realm. Does that work for folks?
And so do you mean separate from subsidized housing then? So there would essentially end up being 2? I mean, you'd have the subsidized affordable housing definition, that's 30%, and then we would look at something that we would consider, or that should be considered affordable for those that are not subsidized?
I think
Is
it's
that
just
the
more
idea?
expanding it so that it incorporates that piece.
Right.
And then it looks at other types of affordable housing as well. Because to me, that's one kind. And then,
Yes, like subsidized, but.
Yeah.
So we would be looking at, let's say, some certain amount a month for somebody who isn't subsidized?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, and there's a lot of benchmarks for that that are out there, including CMHC, although I know that the 30% rule, what I've read, has kind of been thrown out because it's just pretty tough for most people, so that like 50% has been thrown around.
And this is a point. Can we also know the exact percent that comply with the 30%? Like if we are saying 30% is the benchmark for now. So can we know on the fact how many people in Charlottetown are using or are eligible for the 30%? Like we can say they have affordable housing, or maybe, and this maybe takes us to the point that no, we need to extend it to 50%, to 60%, whatever, like, because the population is changing, and also like some people left the island, some people came to the island. So if we have the same definition since like 2 or 3 years, so maybe we need to change it based on the fact, the actual, based on the inflation of prices that's going around us everywhere now. So
Yeah, so that one is CMHC, so that's Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Yeah, so we can certainly look at, what other standards are being used, like across Canada and anywhere. We don't have to limit it to Canada, but I think it's a great point. I don't know how many people's housing costs are 30% of their income. We might be able to find some data on that. My feeling would be not very many, but I don't know.
But if you're looking at a comparative analysis, you'll have to look at other jurisdictions. And I'm not aware of any jurisdiction that's looking at 50%, 70% of your income. Like, you know of some?
That's more in a financial planner's world that I've heard, where they're telling people that's actually more realistic based on current costs and median income.
Right. But that would have to be substantiated by policies and procedures that are already in place in other jurisdictions that they're doing that they're subsidizing up to 50%.
I think that wasn't, sorry, to clarify, I don't think other jurisdictions are subsidizing up to 50%.
No, I don't think
It
so.
was more in people's household budgets that they're spending 50% or more on housing. Yeah. Anyway, we can certainly share ideas and then other resources. Does that work for people to do that in a Google Drive doc for the most part? Because I can also share it with our other committee member by email, and they can give feedback. I just thought that would be a better use of our time instead of trying to hammer it out today. If that's okay with folks. Okay. So we agree that before our next meeting, we will come up with a draft that we will share and discuss at our next meeting, and then possibly share with planning.
And one other comment, Madam Chair. If you go to our zoning development bylaw that's on our website, charlottetown.ca, all you do is open it up and just type in, it's a PDF, so it's Adobe, type in affordable housing. It'll give you 190 hits of affordable housing. So if you make one change, it has to go through all those other 190 references. So just keep that in mind, that it's not just change the definition, that's all we have to do. It's a string of reactions when you change something.
Oh, yes, I'm aware that there would be a trickle effect for sure, but I think considering that housing is the number one issue across government, nonprofit, sometimes in the private sector, I think it warrants having a look. Anything else about that? Anything people wanted to share? Didn't have an opportunity to about a definition? Okay.
I don't know. I just think it's fine to have a definition of something about this, but the reality is, what are the individuals, what are the families out there actually making in order to get into our house? And that's where the whole thing falls apart. Anybody sitting in a committee, in government office, in federal or provincial government office, it makes a difference. They can put a definition until the cows come home. It's not going to help the situation. Right now, we've got a population here in Prince Edward Island. In order to, the average person in Prince Edward Island, if they're making, I just did a quick calculation, if they're making $20 an hour, based on your 30%, they would be into about $1,100 a month for rent, if it's subsidy or not. But the average rental coming out right now, they're looking at $1,800, $1,900 a month for a two-apartment to get into a house. Nobody is making that kind of money. That's where we're having the issue. It's not affordable for the people that are living here. It could be affordable for somebody who's making 120 grand a year in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Winnipeg, wherever the case may be. But that's not the reality that we're dealing with right now.
I agree.
People are coming into the situation, young families are trying to start a family. They're saying, well, we can't do it. There's more and more people I've talked to individually around, and I've asked questions. People are moving back in with their parents because they can't afford to be out in this environment that we're creating, you know. 5 years ago, I put together a deck that my wife wanted on the front of our house that people use our side door most of all. It cost me $600. The other day, I called a couple of places just to see what it would, the very same amount of material that I had. I got quotes anywhere from $1,700 to $2,200. So that's almost a 300% increase in what your cost. The people who are building these places, they want to make money. They don't want to sit on this property and wait for you to, for the housing, for whoever is going to come into the place to be able to afford it, because nobody's going to be able to afford it. You know, so there's all kinds of barriers and restrictions that we put in place at the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've got to somehow alleviate.
I agree, but I think that starting with a really good definition that is real and reflects the reality is a real foundational piece of good policy. Because if you have this definition that as is now, it excludes about, I would say, 85% of people.
Exactly.
And so it is kind of seemingly mundane and maybe boring, but to have a clear definition that will have that trickle-down effect through all the documents and be maybe part of policy, and that is used as a directive. That's the key part, because if you're using this, I don't think you're going to help very many people.
Now, is that a definition for this province, for this?
That is the city's
city, or
zoning.
Is it federally, you're saying, on a federal point, okay, you should be using 30% of your income?
No, the first piece is the cities that they also share with the province. That's their definition. The second one is more of food for thought, I guess, from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. And they're using 30%, which I would argue is not a reality for most people, certainly not for me. Yeah, so that's why I guess I don't really think we can do anything of value if we're not like operating from the same terminology, I guess, that reflects our town.
Yeah, because 30% right now of what people are making is just not going to cut it here, you know. And the worst of it is, we've got a homeless crisis to begin with, and that's going to just add more to that demographic if it keeps going the way it is. People are going, and we've got so many things that are being, that are coming to the forefront, like the renoviction things that we see popping up all across the province right now. And I'm sure they're happening. I haven't heard of a lot happening here in Charlottetown, but I'm sure they are happening. So again, that's pushing people out the door. So there are so many fronts that this battle is going to be waged on in order to achieve anything at this point. And, you know, sometimes we've got to say, well, what are we going to concentrate on?
Yeah.
We're going to concentrate on the working poor because they're a demographic out there. Mm-hmm. You know, are we going to concentrate on providing space to the homeless that are out there. That's another part of the pie, you know. And so there's so many facets of it that we've got to start looking at. I think sometimes we've just got to take one piece at a time and say, you know, where is our strengths going to be put for now? And then we'll look at another part. Let's see if we can fix one part instead of trying to fix all of it, all of the pie.
Yeah,
Does that make sense to anybody here?
it does for me, and that's why I want to just start with that definition. It seems simple, but it's not. And I think because I think that will dictate the rest of our work. And I think you bring up a really great question, which is, what would this committee like to focus on? Because it's a pretty broad mandate, if I'm understanding it clearly, which is to advise council or planning. And you go ahead, Mayor.
So, Madam Chair, so you have looked at the terms of references, right? And the terms of reference, I have them up here. It's all about affordability, but I think when we first met, you wanted a definition. That's what you were asking for, a definition.
Well, and I think like how the committee started as a response to short-term rentals is valid, but it's,
Didn't start like,
No?
it didn't start for that reason.
oh, okay.
It, one of the former chairs took it in that direction, which
Oh,
led
okay.
us to a three-year ordeal, and also working within the, you know, the confines of COVID-19 pandemic. So that's,
Okay.
yeah. Now, we did have CMHC in a couple of times, and they do have housing or rent geared to income programs. But the programs that we've witnessed coming through the city of Charlottetown is at 80% of the median, and then you take 10% off that for affordable housing, which brings it within 30% less the market value of housing, which I don't agree with. And I don't think the committee agrees with that too, so. I think that, you know, like this, this discussion is needed. Where are you going to go with it? I know another thing too, Madam Chair, is that, Madam Chair Ellen, we have been trying to work with the new Minister of Federal Housing, Sean Fraser, and his call to action to look at more density. And we are working with that file. Actually, our Director of Community Services, Sue Fraser, is working on that file to try to get that funding, which will be of a great help to our planning department to provide more human and financial resources to get to a point where we can have a revised and comprehensive overhaul of our official plan that will filter down into changes to our zone and development bylaws focused on more density.
And so that means building new then, right?
That's right.
That means building new. And how long a process do you think that is?
We started it last spring, and we had public consultation meetings throughout the community. And Upland Consulting out of Toronto are doing the sort of the paving the way on how we go forward in developing a new and overhauled comprehensive official plan. It could be a year, but hopefully we can get some funding from the Housing Accelerator Fund that will speed things up.
Okay, well, it might be a good time to just go back to the objectives of the terms of reference, so we're all on the same page. I know Ahmed, it's his first day. I did read these, but it was about a month ago. But the key objectives are assessment, conduct an analysis of local affordable housing landscape, identifying gaps, challenges, and opportunities. That's pretty big. Recommendations, that's more straightforward. Recommendations to tackle affordable housing needs, encompassing rental and ownership options, supportive services, regulatory enhancements, and financial mechanisms. And then policy evaluation, evaluate existing and new draft housing policies, regulations, and bylaws. That's why, yeah, proposing amendments or new policies. And then monitoring and reporting. That was one I had a question about last time, which is oversee the implementation of affordable housing strategies, which I felt was out of our purview, and monitor key performance indicators. Can you remind me about that piece? Because I know we chatted about it briefly. Is there a strategy being developed right now?
I'm sorry, I'm not aware about it for now.
Okay,
But I can answer it to next meeting. Yeah, I was not there,
right.
so.
So these are terms of reference that were approved in August by council. Is there any more information on that?
August of 2023?
Mm-hmm.
Donna did. Okay. Yeah, so she updated what's on the website, so that's what I was going by.
Oh, this is not
What's that?
the most up-to-date one?
It would be.
The ones that I have from the website are not reading the same stuff.
No, we're not on the same page there.
Okay, they were approved by council August 25th, 2023.
Okay.
It's like we got to clarify this stuff.
And they were submitted by Donna Miller Ayton, our Director or Manager of Policy and Heritage. Yep.
Is there an opportunity for the committee to give feedback on the terms of reference or amend them?
Right now, yes, you may want to get all your committee members to look at them and
Yeah.
make some recommendations, amendments.
It's just very extremely ambitious, I would say, for a volunteer committee. You know, I think maybe 1, 2, and 3 are very manageable, but the fourth one seems really, really big and more seems like a staff task to me, but
What was the fourth one again? Sorry.
it's on, sorry, here. On page 2, under monitoring and reporting. So maybe we'll have a look at those between our next meeting as well. And then if we have suggestions for council, then we just put those to council and council reviews and approves? Or to Deacon?
So you can go through Deacon or Jason,
Okay,
and then they will be filtered up in a report that goes with the report that's presented by the deputy mayor when she presents her planning, development, and heritage standing committee report, correct?
That's correct. And Deegan, can we have the website updated so that the terms of reference that I'm looking at on the website are actually the ones that we approved in August?
Sure,
Because they're
we'll
not.
make sure to do. Yeah.
okay, thank you. Introduction of new business. Does anybody have anything they would like to introduce?
I think that's pretty well sort of already been asked, I think, is this part in the discussions, the introduction to businesses,
Oh, I have one more.
I think. I'm not sure.
Sorry, I have one more that I didn't add to the agenda that I'm going to add to new business, which I was just curious about when the committee is, I guess, envisioned, are there set seats for tenants on this committee versus homeowners? Because I think that's pretty important perspective.
So again, your terms of references, I think membership is up to 9 members. Does it say that? Again, I'm looking at the one that's on the webpage. Is the current one saying up to 9 members?
Okay, we'll add that to the review then, maybe.
Yeah.
Of the terms of
Yeah.
reference.
So if you do, again, we have to do a call out to allow fair and equitable selection of anyone wishing to sit on any advisory committee, agency, board of council. So we'd have to do another open call for applicants or anyone wishing to submit not an application, but a resume to join the committee.
Sure. Yeah, no, just, I think to have an affordable housing committee without any tenants is we're missing a big voice. So maybe some of you are tenants. I am a homeowner, a new homeowner, a former tenant. You're a tenant? Great, we got one tenant. And people don't have to disclose, but I was just like, I think that's important.
It's very important, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, actually, are we going to talk about our next meeting date before we wrap up? Oh, no?
So
We're gonna
I-
have to, you have to like give me signals or
Yeah,
something, Jason.
that's the hardest I can ever shake my head is the next meeting date. It's coming. There's very many moving parts for me to set these meeting dates. And the short story, we're in transition from the past intake officer to myself, who had 12 full months of 5 meeting committees and boards in play. And you guys are the 5th and you're in the mix, and it'll be emailed out as soon as I have it booked.
Okay, is the goal that we meet monthly at noontime? That is the broad goal. Are there days that people can't do? I guess that would be an important question. Are there days?
So the goal, my main goal is to have it at noon, which was requested by you folks. I've come to find out that my parameters, so to speak, aren't very wide. So I can't kind of say, yes, it's going to be the second Thursday for sure at noon. I like to have a lot of options and opinions and availability, but the fact is some work, some don't. And there's, as I say, the other 4 committees, plus the other 6 standing committees. So there's only so many working days in the month. So I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to try to have it at noon. If Thursdays at noon works, great. But when I send it out, it's going to be sort of, this is what I can do versus what would you like, so to speak, without trying to be bossy or pushy. That's sort of the situation I'm in is all.
But are there days that people cannot meet, I guess? Because it doesn't matter if you book a meeting on a day where no one can come. So I was just wondering if there's a day that's like totally off the table for anyone. I am fine with pretty much any day. Good? It's your dream, Jason. It's fine.
And Chair, if I could, we discussed at the beginning of this meeting to look at whether or not we could do these meetings in the Parkdale room versus the chamber. So if I can go through you to our representative from the staff, if they can look into that, that will probably give Jason more options for meeting times, because there's meeting rooms downstairs and we're a small group. So as long as the public is aware of where we are.
Yep.
So if that could be looked at as well.
Yes, thank you so much for raising that, Deputy Mayor, because I think most of us would feel comfortable without these mics.
I guess, sorry, while we're on record, I guess I might as well say it again, then it's on record. I spoke earlier before we got on record. There is a standard operating procedure that's being developed right now. It's going to be in place probably before the next meeting. So as I said, this format may shift. We could be in a different room. But the standard operating procedure that's going to be in place is going to dictate how it's going to work. So once I get that back, and that's going to help me also book some things. So it'll be tightened up very soon.
And just to follow up what Jason's saying, I don't think the advisory committees for City Hall are that connected to the MGA, the Municipal Government Act, in terms of special meetings, open meetings. This is an advisory. It's not a decision-making body, so it's recommending. And I know the Seniors Engagement Advisory Committee, they meet in the Parkdale room. So does the Youth Engagement Advisory Committee. So don't think there'll be an issue, but again, just want to make sure they're all checked and rechecked. Just to get back to Ellen, I'm looking at the agenda for, did you say August 28th on the passage of that?
It was dated August 25th.
Yeah. So August 28th, there was an enclosed meeting, the conduct of existing or anticipated legal proceedings. That was something that was related to our old policy. So I was looking through that but couldn't find anything. Anyways, I'll go through that
Sure.
documentation. So when we come for the next meeting, Deacon, we'll have answers to the affordable housing, where it is in the zoning development bylaw, reference to the affordable housing, and also the terms of references. Then there's also the onboarding session that we have to do to talk about our roles and responsibilities as committee members. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Could I have a motion to adjourn? Yes. Motion from Ahmed, thank you. Seconder? Thank you, Anne. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, committee members, Deputy Mayor, Mayor, and Jason, thank you for organizing today. And Deacon, thanks for joining us.